Hey guys, Cryptman here. So this video was unplanned, not originally on my schedule, but I felt like it was necessary to do, and I wanted to do it now, because this is the second time in 3 weeks we've had a coin, Prim being the second, and Carlson being the first, that basically came out of nowhere, that wasn't listed on an exchange, but slowly but surely, hash rate has been pouring onto the network. For example, I started mining it when it was 25 terahash, and it is now up to 212 terahash. I was actually number 15 at one point on the pool. It was kind of cool. But that's not the point of this video. It's not to tell you you should get on this coin or to help you start mining it. There are plenty of guides on YouTube. You can go to Son of a Text Guide for Prim on that. Point of this video is, should you spec mine, the risk of spec mining, and what you need to know before you start spec mining any coin. Now, I want to stress, this is not financial advice, and this is not me telling you whether you should or shouldn't have mined Carlson, or you should or shouldn't mine Prim, or whatever any crazy coin comes out in the next 2 or 3 weeks, because you know, if Prim becomes profitable, and that's a big if, just like Carlson, that this is going to happen again, and it's going to happen more frequent as money drives people to do things. And as Tony Robbins says, success breeds clues. So what is spec mining and how it works? Well, the idea behind spec mining is you look for some new coin, whether you find it on Bitcoin Talk or somebody tells you about it, or you hear it in a Discord or a paid for group or whatever that nobody knows about. You got to be one of the first on the network, like to the point where there isn't even a wallet. And that's actually the big thing, because no wallet keeps 99% of the people away. You're basically mining to a node, and people don't like to set up nodes, and nodes are like bad words in the crypto space for most people. And you definitely have to get on it way before there's an exchange. For example, if you were on Carlson the first day or two that it was GPU mineable, you made about 50K-ish Carlson with a mid-sized farm. I had 5 rigs on it, maybe 30 or so 3070s, and I was 2 days late to that party, and I made like 7,000 on the third day. So you're talking about like a 42K difference basically in 2 days. So you know, when you get in really early, you get a ton of coin, and you mine it all directly to the node. And since it's not on the exchange, it has no value. I'll show you right here how you have to mine to the node. It has no value, so it's not worth anything as far as mineable income. Now, this is based on American tax laws. You know, your laws may vary for whatever country you're in. And then when it gets listed on an exchange, the idea is you take your big pile of whatever coin you got, you either dump it right away, or you hold it for a little bit, and then when the price goes crazy, you dump it again. So you could have either did that with, like for Carlson, for example, you could either dumped it right away when it was 9 cents and then bought back in, or just dumped it at 9, or you could have waited till it hit like 25, 26 and dumped it then. And then all you have to do is pay capital gains on that sale, which is nice too. Again, this is country dependent. And you make a ton of money for like almost no work. I know people who made a few $1,000s for 2 days, 3 days worth of mining. And an added bonus to all this is, you know, if you hit big on something like Carlson, you're so far ahead in terms of profitability for a normal week or month worth of mining, or even 2 months worth of mining. It allows you to kind of start spec mining maybe more unprofitable coins, or coins that have, you know, a lower market cap or a lower hash rate, because you don't need to be profitable because you already hit your big bag on, like, say, Carlson. But, and there's a lot of buts here, right? The reason it worked for so many people who decided it was worth the risk was because there were so many more people who decided it wasn't worth the risk because of all the things that could go wrong. And like, if you just YouTube, or if you just search YouTube for Carlson, you'll see a ton of people saying, oh, should I have did it? Is it worth it? Especially if you like go to the earlier videos where they're like, oh, am I doing Carlson? And you just watch it change over time. And you can tell the people who are bullish on it and the people who are bearish on it and change their mind. Now, that's not telling you should have been bullish or bearish. I'm just telling you that the reason it works for some people is because a lot of other people won't do it. And there are plenty of reasons why a lot of people won't do it. So let's start off with the fact that this guide for Prim, for example, is literally on Medium. I don't know who this guy is. You don't know who set him up. You have to literally go grab software from a GitHub that, I mean, it hasn't been vetted. It hasn't been checked. That was one of the big things with Carlson, was people were hesitant to download it until Yeti checked it, because people just didn't trust it. That's why you need a virtual machine PC. like that. This isn't anything to say whether you should or you shouldn't again, but this is why you need a virtual machine. Because this software, like you could click on this link right here and it could be a virus. It could take everything off of my computer, which is why I don't ever click on any of these. And you should never ever open up new software unless you're on a VM. You could get on the network, right? And it could end up being cracked. Like Prim, for example. I was mining Prim last week with a few other people, but an ASIC or two cracked it, and we're mining basically all the hash and taking all the coin, and they had to actually fork this from the Caspa algorithm to Blake 3 to kick all the ASICs off. So like, you're dealing with like really wonky software. And even if you look at E4 pool, it literally says right here, the network is unstable, rejected solutions, large number of orphan blocks, blockchain reorganization is possible. So like, this is a mess. You could end up on a crappy network and just, waste a lot of time. Another thing is spinning nodes up isn't exactly easy. Like there's kind of a lot of work to be done with nodes. And if you're not familiar with the command prompt or Linux, it's not fun. I had a lot of issues with my Carlson node. It caused me to miss the first big listing on the exchange. And I even had some issues on the Prim node. I had a lot of issues on the Prim node actually. And I kind of had to get creative with a little bit of help from the Discord and just me knowing a little bit on like the basics of how nodes work. I was able to get it working. But it's a lot of work, and it can be very, very overwhelming to try to get them spun up and working. Because if it was easy, everybody would do it. And another thing is you could lose your node passphrase, you could lose your secret key, and all of it could be gone. All the work you did could be for nothing. Another thing is miners for early coins are a real big pain in the rear. Going back to Carlson and Prim, you actually had to do a lot of work to get Carlson, and you had to basically make a lot of assumptions, and you had to kind of fill in the blanks. And with early Prim, for example, it was literally you just had to use Caspa, and I mean, you just had to basically go, okay, well, if this is a Caspa fork, let me try using an old Caspa miner and see if it'll work. This guide actually made using LOL miner pretty easy with Prim, but I recently just changed to Regal miner, and it was actually a lot of work to get it right. I had to make a lot of assumptions. It wasn't simple at all. And this guide is actually outdated now with the Hive update. So like you finally find a good guide and then things change. So it's very frustrating to mine, these early coins when they don't have a lot of support and there's not a lot of Q&As and you're kind of basically troubleshooting things on your own. Another thing that's wrong is you don't really know when the coin is going to be listed. So if you're on vacation or somewhere where you can't move the coins to an exchange right away, you could, like, if you're like a day or two late, the thing could tank and fail. It could be like Ironfish. Ironfish got on the exchange at $20. A week later or a few days later, it was, $1 or less. And it could basically be worthless. So you kind of have to, have your node running, be ready to go to move all your coins to, whatever exchange lists it, and to get out fast if that is your goal, is you think it's just going to dump and you want to get out fast. Finally, like, the coin could never be listed. The more times you see a Carlson work, like if Prim works and if other coins after that work, you're going to see a lot more people trying these coins out, like trying to make coins out of nothing. And, exchanges are going to do it, miners are going to do it. Like, if you look, we have already 3 big miners supporting Prim, and there's already 2 pools on it. People are supporting these unsupported, unproven coins a lot faster because Carlson and other coins like it have proven that you can get a lot of money out of these things fast. I remember when Nexa first started, I was one of the first on there. I was like there on day 2. There was like one exchange that listed it that nobody knew about, and there was one miner, and it was a terribly unoptimized miner, and there were like 2 pools on it, and that was for like the first month and a half before anybody knew what was going on, and then people still thought it was a rug pull. Whereas with these new coins, people are just jumping on them willy-nilly, and the more times this happens, the more likely there's going to be one that's like a rug pull. So I could have my whole farm on this coin for 2 days, and it could be for nothing. It could be for absolutely nothing, because theoretically right now I'm mining it and it's worth nothing. So these are just a few of the many reasons why something could go wrong, and it's very likely, and it's the more this happens, the more likely it's going to happen. Crypto is already a gamble on established altcoins. This is like another level of degeneracy as far as these coins go. Like I can't even describe it. It's like, if the financial establishment considers Ethereum and Bitcoin a gamble, and then offshoots like Caspa, Ergo, altcoins like that are a gamble, and then you have like another level of gamble like Meow Coin or like Nori or just newer coins like that. You have the bottom of the barrel dump, like in gambling in the sewers, playing with Carlson in the beginning and Prim in the beginning, to give you an idea of like what kind of degeneracy we're talking about at this point. So there's a lot of risk involved. So now that I've gone over the positives and the negatives, there's other things you need to consider. Can you afford to be mining crypto that doesn't have an established value to it? Can you afford to mine an altcoin of an altcoin of an altcoin of an altcoin that's so bottom of the barrel, it's not listed anywhere. It doesn't even have official guides. It has a medium guide to it. Can you afford to take that chance? Are you okay to be the first one that wants to troubleshoot and deal with all these problems? Do you have experience setting up nodes or VMs? I mean, this is something that these are questions that you guys have to ask when you're thinking about diving in to a coin like this, to spec mining like this. And you have to find out also what your risk tolerance is. Do you have a high risk tolerance? Are you going to dive into this with your whole farm? Or are you going to be like, nah, I'm good? Or are you maybe going to put one or two rigs on it, like a small, very small percentage of your farm, to see what happens? These are all questions you have to ask. Another important thing that I want to stress, you need to know how much your farm costs per day so that you can make an established guesstimate of how much you're comfortable risking with your power. At the time of this filming, I will have been on Prim for about 36 hours. And knowing how much it costs for my power, it's about $46 to $47 right now. I know that I have 13 out of 18 rigs on Pyrum. I have my NVIDIA rigs on Kapow, my AMD rigs on Kapow, and 3 NVIDIA rigs that all have their own different reasons for not having been switched. I know that 75% of my farm in 36 hours is about $50 in power, and I know I can comfortably risk the $50 I have spent so far for the chance to hit it big. But it makes it a lot easier to gamble when you can take educated guess on your power numbers. Because let's not kid ourselves, this is a gamble. So know your number. Again, these are all questions that you have to ask yourself, things you have to consider. You have to weigh the positives and the negatives. If it's not for you, then that's okay. You are not missing out. You do whatever you feel comfortable doing. I'm going to be honest with you. It was super stressful trying to get my Carlson out of my node. It drove me crazy, and it almost made me not want to spec mine again. But on the flip side, the joy I got, or the elation I got out of the easy money that just came out of nowhere, like free money out of thin air I got, made it feel amazing. So there's big highs and there's big lows. You know, basically crypto mining in a nutshell. One final thing I want to say, and I want to stress this again. If it is for you, if you decide you're going to do this, you need a virtual machine to do this. And you need to make sure you learn from each and every mistake you make on each of these coins along the way to get better at it as you go. Again, this video is not me telling you that you should or you shouldn't spec mine. I'm just giving you an introduction to the positives and the negatives of spec mining and the things that you need to do if you're going to spec mine. This is basically like spec mining 101. Only you can make the decision if spec mining is for you or not. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. Cryptman